Many call him the father of modern bluegrass music. Tony Trischka is widely considered one of the world's most innovative banjo players, influencing fellow players from Bella Fleck to comedian Steve Martin, and fusing bluegrass with other musical genres that have earned him Grammy nominations. He's been at it for more than half a century and now has a new album out, more than 24 in all. This one is titled Earl Jam. I'll let him explain the title because he's here with us in studio now. Tony Trischka, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Before we actually talk, I want to let your music do a little bit of the talking for you. Let's take a listen.
Lord, Lord, I got them browns very blue.
That just feels fun. Talk to us about the title Earl Jam and how it's in honor of Earl Scruggs.
It's in honor of Earl Scruggs. This is about 2 years ago. I got a hold of a thumb drive of over 200 songs of jam sessions between Earl Scruggs, the father of modern banjo, and John Hartford, who wrote Gentle on My Mind. And lots of times it was just the two of them, sometimes other folks. And there was tunes that we'd never heard Earl Scruggs play before. Or tunes that he'd played before, but was doing some really crazy things with, really outside things. And this is when he was in his 60s and going into his 70s. So it was a whole new way of looking at Earl Scruggs. And my life wouldn't be what it is today without Earl Scruggs.
And what was it like for you to take some of this unreleased music of his and really make it your own?
Well, what I did was I transcribed into banjo tablature, is what it's called, his exact solos. And for this album, there were 15 tunes on the album. Every single solo I play is note for note what he played on these jam sessions, because I figured these may never come to light. People may never get a chance to hear them. But at least this way, through my fingers, they'll hear what he played.
And tell us, speaking of fingers, he had a very unique banjo-picking style, that technique. Tell us about that technique and also how it's helped bluegrass to evolve.
Well, he called it himself. He called it Scruggs style. There were people playing it. It's a three-finger style, the thumb and the index and the middle finger. And he joined Bill Monroe back in 1945, October of 1945. And that's how we all got to hear his music. And
you talked about how it was these three fingers here.
Right.
Prior to the Scruggs style, how did people pick a banjo?
There was a style called classic banjo style. Some of the very first Edison cylinders featured that, three-finger picking, doing classical music, rags and marches and that sort of thing. And then there's a downstroke style like this, more the African roots of the music, because the banjo comes originally from Africa, more of a rhythmic style, called clawhammer today.
You grew up in Syracuse, listening to orchestras and symphonies. How did you end up finding the banjo?
During the folk scare, as they say, of the early 60s, folk music was very popular, and there was a group called the Kingston Trio, which was one of the biggest groups going, and they'd be on the cover of Life magazine, hard to believe now. And there was a banjo player in their band named Dave Guard, and he took a solo on a tune called MTA, Charlie and the MTA, and I heard that, and I was gone for forevermore.
You collaborate on this album with Molly Tuttle, Billy Strings. Talk to us about the old and the new and kind of combining them together.
Yeah, well, it's, both Molly Tuttle and Billy Strings is selling out arenas now, which is kind of crazy, and he'll just get up there and play traditional bluegrass, but he's also attracting the younger audience, a Fish audience, a Grateful Dead audience, that kind of a thing, the jam band kind of audience. But so he's bringing bluegrass to the masses, the younger masses, I guess you could say. And I worked with Molly Tuttle before she was Molly Tuttle. I had a Christmas show that she played with me on, and so I would do that. And I sat in a couple of times with Billy Strings, a couple of his shows. And then when I came to do this, it was, hey, Billy, do you want to do this? And he agreed to do it. So I was very happy to do it.
Bluegrass is alive and well.
It is, in these younger hands, for sure.
All right, well, we thank you so much, Tony, for coming on the show. I want to let our viewers know Tony Trischka's new album, Earl Jam, a tribute to Earl Scruggs, comes out in just a few weeks. You can also catch him on tour in 9 states from now through the end of the summer.